I had a question on, I think it's switchgear,
Okay.
where they have new switchgear that they're putting in, and I've never seen this before, but it has like a little, like a, like a little window, like circle window that they can move the little thing, and then they can put an IR gun on it.
Yes.
Is that common now, or is that something I
Uh,
should have seen before?
no, so you would see this. I'd say maybe if I had to just say the most common places you'd see it would be a medium voltage or of a unit substation lineup potentially. Um, but no, they're excellent. The use of IR windows in my note before about NFPA 70B for maintenance of electrical systems now becoming a standard. These kinds of uh, accessories being added at the original equipment manufacturer and is definitely so. Yeah, no, and as engineers all we have to do is decide to include them. Now what they're used for, sorry, so we should say, so there's various diameters that you can get, and even the diameters when you get them, once you open it, there's maybe and there's various types of glass. Some glasses, and depending on the technology for the infrared camera that you're using, might not be as good. So it's, although it does seem like and it's fun to use like even just like a pointer for thermal, but it does, an infrared thermographer is ideal that even in a commissioning, if it's possible in the upfront, to push that as a requirement so that the person that's doing it isn't just somebody who knows how to turn it on, because it's knowing the reflectances of the various materials and things like that that really makes for ability to use that tool as a baseline for maintenance. So yeah, what it is, right? So why is it that, so we're saying thermal, and the idea is if uh, terminations being bolted connections, which should be torqued down to a specific torque with a torque wrench, using a paint marker to mark the bolt head and the nut and then the surface. So this way, you know if this bolt has been moved or not. If they can use, uh, there's also paint markers. It's like an aircraft. You'll see if you go in the door, you'll see that way if it literally cracks. Torque seal would be called if you can put torque seal. So you could require that in the specification, maybe for really large feeders. But the point being is that where we have terminations and then we provide potential in form of voltage, and then we let electrons ride their way through, they're making heat and not consistently necessarily. So it might be heating and cooling and heating and cooling. And then also maybe this is a panel that's outside or not outside. So you just have the general environmental conditions that they're in. So it's important that they are actually connected well, because if they aren't, which I think we all maybe can suspect, right? As you start to separate, they want to stay together by the electromotive force. So sparking is the idea. So it isn't that you would see necessarily sparking by using an infrared thermo gun and through a window to see the terminations, but what you will see is the increased heat if there's loose bolts. So this gives you an indication of soon enough a problem is to come, and otherwise there's no problem. You should see even heating between them of a three-phase system. Now, that may not necessarily be the case if one of the phases is loaded more than the others. The electrical code wants you to balance those as best you can within 10%, the phase A, B, and C, but you might have a phase that's hotter for that reason. But mostly if there's one of the phases, so NETA ATS, the National Electrical Testing Association acceptance testing, or in this case, maintenance testing, depending on which it is, they note that if you have a temperature variation of like 0.2 C or something difference between the phases, that's enough to consider the next remediation. So because these things cost money, and also admittedly and unfortunately, but also with an FPA 70B maybe more so, an FPA 70B, I think it was in 2010, shifted some of the responsibility to the employer regarding training for the employees. And so it's only becoming more so this. But I would say prior to these pushes of the updates of the requirements for maintenance, and that it would just maybe be a waste of money for an original equipment manufacturer to happen to have included for something the owner may never even open, because they just wait till it breaks and they fix it, and they have to go through and suffer the downtime. But with the changes and with the advocacy of arc flash safety, because we do not want to do hot work, there really shouldn't be any reason to do any hot work. I know that that's not true, but that's the mentality we like to have. So if we could just do small things like put in these infrared windows, that's a step forward. Other things, there's more advancements that we can do than beyond that. There are some cases, and mostly this would just be in a custom installation, or for like say a military project or something, that they work with the manufacturer to put, and I think there are indeed listed products out there to put cameras with inside of the gear, so that you don't have to even get in the gear, and or it is can be provided, and sometimes with its fiber optic cabling in there that's sensing the flashes or potential flashes, but then you can monitor the heat over time. So that's even more redundant that you could do. Obviously comes with cost and challenges, but yeah, really, I agree, Heidi, that it isn't something that you'd see a lot of. I can say that a handful of installations I can think of that I remember seeing for sure, but other than that, it would be because I was the one who asked, put it in the design. So.
Yeah, no, I thought that was pretty neat. How often would you think that for maintenance they should scan it? Should it be like annually, biannually, monthly?
Yeah, good question. So NEDA, ATS, and MTS, they actually for free. We won't try to go, I'm sure I won't be able to get to it. If you go to their website, and I think you just make a username, and it's kind of weird because I think they make it like a shopping cart item that's $0, and it seems like, but it's just, they took the page or so out of their standard that has that criteria of how often you need to do various things, depending on, and so it's right there listed. So usually, so it really depends on the type of equipment for the frequency, but it will go through things such as yearly visual inspections. Maybe maybe every 2 years you need to have a mechanical inspection or an equivalent thermographer inspection. Or if you can't do thermography, if you're doing thermography, it means there's live, right? You need to have load, you need to have heat. Maybe to shut down and you use a low voltage ohm meter, which is different than just like a multimeter. It can really tell the very small, minute difference in resistance, and that will allow you to see that there's high resistance, or otherwise a need to tighten something that isn't to the torque that it should be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. Maintenance, it's really, we are designing, again, very expensive products, and so the people who get to take care of them afterwards have a big responsibility. And those organizations, I mean, all businesses, right, they have turnover, and otherwise, people change careers and things. And so the more that we can kind of be the technical expert to save them from themselves, but also not introduce unnecessary things in the project, the better it is for everybody. Yeah. Okay, good question.
Thank you.
All right, I'll pause for another moment just in case there might be any further questions about the material, or otherwise about, yeah, any questions you might have in your normal career. Otherwise, that would be fine too. So, okay, sounds good. Well, I just want to say I appreciate everybody's taking your time out to do this. It is every time you do this for yourself, and likewise me for myself, and Nebulous, we like to do this because it's otherwise sharing knowledge is we're focused on ourselves to try and make betterments for the projects. So it's only easier when you do this, when you spend a little bit of time. So thanks for doing that with me.